Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're joining us. Welcome. Today's discussion is with Beth Stewart, the CEO of Trewstar, and we're going to speak about why every board needs a CISO or CIO and how to get a board seat if you're one. For years, cybersecurity and technology leaders have been critical to innovation and resilience. Yet, when it comes to board seats, they remain underrepresented. So, as boards face AI risk, digital transformation, new regulations, technical insight has become essential. And to unpack it, Beth Stewart, the founder and CEO of Trewstar Board Advisory Services, is going to help us unpack it. And Trewstar is really one of the most respected firms in board search and governance advisory. So, Beth, thank you for joining us.
It's absolutely my pleasure to see you again.
So maybe share a little bit about yourself and your background, and how does your firm, Trewstar, become known for reshaping how companies think about board composition, and what makes your approach unique?
Well, so I started life as an investment banker, and then I became a corporate director, and then I started a search firm at the age of 55. So I think what's unique is that Trewstar partners, and I have two other partners, we all either are or were corporate directors. So we have just a different, other people talk about what happens in a boardroom, they've never been there, and we have decades now of collective experience. So we started off with a focus on women in the 2012, 2013 period where it was clear that there was pressure from Europe and pressure from investors, pressure from some state legislatures to get women on boards, and Trewstar started to try to fill that need. And we have since expanded, if you will, or as I say, we've diversified into white males. So at this point, we now, when we do a board search, we include people of both genders and all races. And we've been doing this for a while because a lot of progress was made on getting the women on the boards. And we also offer other services. This is, again, specialization just at the board level, board evaluation, board technology, translation services, advisory boards, et cetera. So that is what we do.
Well, thank you so much. So before we go further, I'm going to try something. I'm going to say a few words that CTOs and CISOs use every day. And Beth, who is a director on many public boards, she helps place hundreds of board members. She's going to try to tell me what they mean to you.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So we're going to try a couple of words, and let's say DNS.
No idea.
All right. API security.
Even less idea. DNS, I might have been able to guess a little bit. I mean, I do Wordle, Quirtle, connections every day. No idea.
Ransomware.
Ransomware, I think that's where you have to pay when somebody holds you up. Okay.
TTP.
No idea.
And
by the way, I'm representing, I mean, it's not just me that doesn't know this. This is part of the point, is that many, many, many people on boards don't know this. But I got something for you. I've been at a technology conference all day. And so I got some words that they said that I didn't know.
Oh, man.
So
okay,
I'm
let's try
going to throw this in.
I did not expect it.
RPA solutions, MCP models. Mm-hmm. But this one I loved because I looked it up, and there's MTP. And I think what the speaker at the conference was saying was massive transformation project.
I did not know MTP. I knew MCP, AI governance, and RPA. I did not know the MTP.
Turns out it also means medical termination of a pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it also means media transfer protocol. So maybe that's why you didn't know it either, because it means a lot of different things.
So I think the moral of a story is a lot of us CEOs and board members would have the same reaction. Those are words that are common in technology circles, but they're often meaningless in a boardroom. And so this translation gap is a real challenge. So how could CISOs and CIOs connect with boards that do not understand their language? What is some advice?
I just want to emphasize, if you're the CIO and you come in after lunch and you start talking this way, I mean, you really do run the risk of pushing them over the edge into the afternoon nap. So, and that's not good for that's not helping the director with their fiduciary duties, right? They need to understand what is it that the CISO and the CIO need to do. You should understand what boards think about. Boards think about growth and they think about revenue. In today's world, they may think about increasing margins and they think about risk, but you have to talk to them. You have to actually make the CFO maybe your best friend. You need to get to know the CFO to understand the business more broadly, and then to be able to talk in those business terms to successful business people who are already sitting around the table. For instance, instead of zero trust, you might say we build systems that prevent disruption to operations. Instead of attack service makes us all get very nervous. Why are you using the word attack? We've never heard this in a boardroom before. You can say you've reduced the ways attackers can reach customers. So it's about clear, simple language to build credibility and to make yourself indispensable. That's really the key to success in lots of areas, but you want them to value you when you come in the room, as opposed to think, oh my God, I'm going to get nervous because I don't know what he's talking about.
So I wrote a Forbes article, The End of a Traditional CISO, and in that article I wrote that the role of a CISO is shifting from a technical guardian to a business strategist. How does this evolution align with what boards are looking for today?
I just want to say I read your article and it was very good and it was very understandable. So
Thank you.
thank you for that. It gets back to some of the things we were saying, that the board is looking for leaders who can connect technology to the business world. And this could be something that you may not be there today. I was talking with the CIO of a major pharmaceutical company, and she said to me that she spends, one of her goals is to make her engineers able to speak English because she knows she's not going to be able to make the business people understand the technology. And so, how are you going to learn about what the business is doing? Do you listen to the earnings calls? As I said, you take the CFO out to lunch. Maybe you talk to the person in HR. I mean, what is going on, and then be able to translate the very, very important things that the CIO does into the language of those of your peers in the C-suite.
So let's talk about why this matters to CEOs. Why would a CEO of a company or chairman of a board want a CIO or CISO on the board? And would they even consider more than one?
So in today's world, I think there are three huge areas. One is what I understand we call the environment. So it's everything, the guts of the company to make it run. That's always been important. Cybersecurity has always been important, but now it's even more important. And now you've got all the things about AI and innovation and cost cutting and new product development. So how can you not have somebody in the room that understands that? Now, one of the pressures on CIOs is you may or may not be the one that really understands all three of those things, but they think, oh my God, now we got a tech person in the room. So it makes it even more important that you are part of the discussion in your own company around what's happening with the innovation side. It's not just about risk. It can't always be about risk. You're reminding me of something, another example of what directors don't understand. I remember, and people I think are still saying this, Verizon does our penetration testing. Penetration testing. Verizon, they're my phone. So we don't understand. And so then you get this example about the house. And what you're really trying to do is make sure all the doors and windows are locked so the bad guys can't get in. Now, we hardly understand who the bad guys are or what they want other than ransomware. And so, when I'm thinking about this, I'm saying, well, what about the chimney? What happens if it's a big house and it's got chimneys? How much of where are all the places they could get in? What does it cost to protect us? Those kinds of things, the CEO or a chairman wants the board to understand. And so talking about it in terms of a house, for instance, as opposed to Verizon and penetration testing, that would just be another example of how I think you can make yourself useful to the board. But the fact is, you don't spend a day and a half talking about the risks of cyber, for instance. You spend most of the time talking about CEO succession, CEO compensation, the CEO analyzing whether or not they've done a good job. You talk about the strategy. And so It's the other reason why you want to have the technology background, but you have to be able to apply it to broadly to the business so that you can participate in that conversation and not sit there with nothing to add.
So many CTOs, CISOs, they want a board seat. You ask them why they want a board seat. They'll tell you, I want to feel important. I want to learn. But they don't know how to position themselves. So what advice would you give them?
First piece of advice is it's never about you. You're in an interview. Do not mention that this is part of your development plan, and the reason you want a board seat is so that you can get promoted or that you can learn. You're going to learn before you get there, doing some of these other things that I've talked about. The board, everybody around that table has an obligation to contribute to the conversation so that you can make decisions and represent the owners of the company, the shareholders. It's a job. It's not, an extracurricular activity. You want to also be engaging. You're with your fellow board members for a day and a half, 4 times a year, and maybe a strategy session and maybe conference calls, but you're going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you don't want to be the person that everybody doesn't want to sit next to. So maybe you tell stories about, this happened to me and this is how we solved it. And, again, you want to be engaging and you want to be clear and you don't want to use all those acronyms. It's very important to say, though, that if you actually think there are some people that maybe aren't your idea of top notch, you don't have to go on any board that offers you the opportunity. It's very much a two-way interview. And if you think the board's not up to snuff, maybe you'll wait for the next one.
So what are some things a CISO or CTO should do to prepare for board service? What are some of the first steps?
Well, most of the time, I would say, the nonprofits, and a lot of people, if they get on a not-for-profit board, generally, you don't kind of get any credit for board experience by going on a not-for-profit, but a technology person might not hurt. If you really have no experience with governance, to see not-for-profit or advisory boards. You can try networking with sitting directors. It can be awkward, though, to take somebody out to lunch to ask them if you can go on their board. But definitely try to network with search firms. You might build visibility with podcasts, speaking engagements, articles, as long as the articles are clear like yours was. You might want to update your resume or at least your speaking points about yourself.
Have a separate board resume?
No, you should not. You should have a chronological resume that says where you worked, for how long, who you reported to, who reported to you, how many dollars were in your purview, where'd you go to school, all of that. You should make it really easy for the reader to figure it out. And I find that a lot of board bios, there's so many adjectives you can't really get to just the facts, which is what we want. But here's an idea that I think CISOs and CIOs ought to consider. If you're doing well in your job, and you're indispensable to your board and to your management team, ask to sit in on your own board meetings, and that will give you great exposure. And then when you do an interview, even though you won't be able to say, if it's your first board, you won't be able to say, I've got outside board experience, but you can say, but I sat in on the board meetings for my own company, and that means something.
So Trewstar has long championed diversity as a performance advantage. Are you seeing boards expand that definition beyond gender, race to include skills like cybersecurity or AI?
So the word diversity, certainly in today's world, is like the third rail. And what's a shame about that is that the diversity meaning that relates to gender and race is something that everybody is trying to at least not talk about, even if they still focus on. But diversity of skill sets was never not important. And so that is why, we're talking today, but we have talked in the past about, you want somebody from marketing and somebody to digital transformation. This is the ideal board. Sometimes technology experience can be a senior executive at a technology firm as opposed to the CIO or CISO and broadly at a corporate firm. Another way, by the way, just another suggestion, is one of the things that we do at Trewstar, we call it True Tech, is that we help with this translation problem, which is real. Even if you have one CISO on the board or one CIO on the board, that's a tremendous burden, and they may not be conversant in all the aspects. So the whole idea is that Trewstar is going to bring advisors to the company and help the board on behalf of the board and or on behalf of the CIO, like maybe we'd help the CIO rewrite his board package. So maybe talking with us about that is another way to get some board experience.
What's the number one mistake that you see a technical executive do when they position themselves for board service?
Well, a lot of it is around the jargon. It's very hard to understand. You really have to cut the jargon. It's why we're doing True Tech. We're translating the jargon. So don't start with the jargon. This idea of treating board service like it's a promotion. It's a promotion. It's an honor, but it's about you're taking on a job of representing shareholders, and so it's not about you. And you have to remember that many of these directors aren't technical. And when you're in an interview, you got to be patient. You shouldn't be patronizing. And as I said, though, that you might decide that it's not right for you. But those are the kinds of mistakes that could be made in an interview. You don't want to start lecturing to board members.
So let's say I'm a private equity fund. I have a number of portfolio companies. I need a strong independent board member. What's the advantage of retaining a firm like Trewstar to help find that board member?
Well, we have a look all across the country at every industry and every C-suite executive, and the PE firm, while it has connections, they're certainly limited to only the people that they know. And then there's a lot to a board search. Everybody thinks it's about the finding the person. That's the beginning of the process. Then there's a whole. It's why being an investment banker was useful. What do investment bankers do? They just get things done. We get it done. We run the process. We evaluate the candidates. We make sure you're not wasting your time talking to anybody who doesn't know about the company, who doesn't have date conflicts or business conflicts. Scheduling the meetings to really make it happen and maintain some excitement. These are all parts of the process, and it's nobody's day job at that private equity firm to do that. And none of them have any experience doing it.
And by the way, SecurityScorecard is a very happy client. Trewstar helped us find a great independent board member. So we look forward to partnering over and over. Well, Beth, we covered a lot. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Absolutely.
So no prep, no board packets, just rapid fire questions. So the first question is, if you could crash any historic board meeting in time, which board meeting would it be and what snacks are you bringing?
I'm not bringing the snacks. I'm the board member. So I can tell you what kind of snacks I like, which is I like to because you get fed so much food in the day and a half. I mean, I like the snacks to be kind of, fruits and vegetables, hummus maybe. And one thing that would be great in a boardroom is if they could have the coffee machines. You can make a good coffee machine so you can make your own latte because you need it at 2:00 in the afternoon. So that would be how I would think.
And which board meeting?
I know Jamie Dimon. I went to business school with him, same class, same section. I'd love to be in a board meeting with Jamie Dimon and see how he does it.
So what book should every aspiring board member read before sending you their LinkedIn?
There's no book. There's no book. People want to know, what do I need to get on a board? And there are all these training programs. What you need to do is be great at the job that you have. And this isn't just the technical people. It's the CFOs. It's the marketing people. It's the operations people. And what you need to do is get to be to the C-suite. If you happen to be a technical person and you can go from the C-suite to the CEO, wow. That's almost as rare as a woman CEO. That's what happens when you get interviewed. You're talking about your past. You're not talking about some book you read. My job is I only talk to successful people because the unsuccessful ones we're not talking to, they're not going on a board. So you've got to get very senior, very successful.
Finish the sentence. The best board members are always ...
Current on their skill sets. But what I was going to say was they're personable. They're people that you would like to be with because it can get to be stressful in a boardroom and you have to be collegial. You have to get along. And so those are the best board members.
Beth, thank you so much for sharing your insight from years of experience at Trewstar, for the work you do to build strong, diverse, resilient boards. I think everybody's really going to benefit from this discussion. Thank you so much, Beth.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
And this will be available on Bright Talk channel, so we look forward to hearing your questions, comments, and please check out the work that Beth is doing at Trewstar.